Hello, guys, and welcome back to another episode of We Believe, Do You? I'm Michelle,
And I'm Eric.
and today we have a special episode. It's actually going to be listener stories this time around, so no guests. These are stories that you guys sent in to us, and we're going to read them back to you.
Yeah, guys. So, actually, a couple of these stories came into us in Spanish, and I was able to translate them. Wasn't that hard, but yeah. Again, if you guys want to go ahead and send your stories in, and and if it's not in English and it is in Spanish, feel free to do it. We can translate it for you and get them out, like we will today. All right, guys. So two of the stories that came in today are from our dad's cousin. She's from Matamoros. She's a nurse. Well, I was gonna say she was, but she is a nurse. She used to work at a hospital, and now she works at a maquiladora or a factory. And the other story is from one of our previous guests, actually, and that's Max. So let's go ahead and jump right into the first story. This is from Luz de Carmen. She's my dad's cousin. Like I said, she's from Matamoros, and this is at her current job. This didn't happen to her, but it happened there at the factory that she works at. So she starts. This story takes place at the factory where I work. It's a large factory / company where there are about 4,000 employees. They have 3 shifts. There are a lot of new employees. There's a new employee in the warehouse who's been there for about 2 weeks. They switched him from day shift to night shift. One day, his boss sends him from plant 52 to plant 53, which is next door, and all he has to do to get there is walk down the hallway. His boss sends him to plant 53 to copy some files from the computer in that plant. The guy gets out at 1 a.m. to do the job that he was tasked to do after finishing his work in plant 52. When he walks over to plant 53, he sees between all the shelves and where there are screwdrivers, screws, where there should only be parts that the workers use. 2 little kids playing, a little boy and a little girl. The guy ends up freaking out because there shouldn't be kids there. There aren't any houses close by, and there isn't a way. There isn't a way for people who shouldn't be there to get in. I'm assuming they have need access cards or have to punch in codes or something. She continues. The guy had gotten very scared, but he still had to do the job that he was tasked to do. The guy, still very scared, walks into the warehouse, and to try and shake it off the fear a bit, he starts to sing out loud. He was able to see that the kids hid among all the shelves. He sees it. He sits at the computer and continues singing. Inside the warehouse, there are some helmets that the workers have to use when they're in the area because of the parts on the shelves that are higher up, which can fall on their heads and injure them. These helmets are in front of the computers where this guy was working. He started getting the files that he needed as he continued to sing. All of a sudden, one of the helmets, more specifically a pink helmet that belonged to one of his female coworkers, flew at him, hit him in the head, and he saw it because it was right in front of him. The guy got so scared that he took off running. He didn't finish the job that he had to do, and he didn't even close out the session on the computer. No one heard anything that day. There weren't any employees in the area because that day there hadn't been a third shift.
What?
Yeah. So when I first heard this, I was embracing for because so he said that he saw 2 little kids, right? And so when she starts telling me this, and then she starts telling me that he started singing, I 100% expected for her to say that the kids started singing too or
Yeah.
something like that. I think that would have. I mean, I don't know. That would have been crazy too. Um, because I thought he might have started singing because since he was scared, I thought he might have started singing something to kind of calm his nerves and relax him a little bit. And so maybe he started singing I don't know, like a nursery rhyme or some childhood song or something like that, and the kids were gonna start singing along. But I guess he just noticed that the kids kind of hid from him when they noticed him, I guess.
But why would there even be kids there to begin with?
I don't know. I honestly don't know where exactly in Matamoros the plant is, that factory. But I mean, the only thing I can assume is somebody, like, I don't know, is the land that it's on, like
Oh
somebody
no,
died.
sorry. I mean, like if well, okay. Did he know they were ghost children like from the start? Like,
No, no, that's what I'm saying is like there's nobody, like, in the story she says that there shouldn't. He was freaked out. That's why he was freaked out, because
yeah, okay,
he didn't realize, or like there's no reason there why there should have been anywhere. Well, that's why I mentioned the whole. I guess they must use access cards or like
yeah,
code to get in, because when he that's why he freaked out when he saw them, because he was like, well, there shouldn't be any children here. Like there's literally no houses close by for it's like, even like, how to explain it, like there's no houses close by, so even if they're like, for example, like, yeah, there just shouldn't be anybody there, because
yeah,
there's
yeah,
nowhere around, there's nobody that's around for, to be able to get in, you know what I mean, or
yeah.
that they might have accidentally, like, just like snuck past security or something like that and ended up in one of the warehouses. No, like, no, like,
It's not
literally,
possible.
yeah, there's nothing around that area where she's at, so, or where the plant is at, so um but yeah, apparently, another reason why there shouldn't have been anybody there, like somebody in the office, like, took, because I was like, well, maybe somebody in the office took their kids or something like that, um and they're there. I mean, granted, it is like 1 in the morning, but again, that he said that there was no third shift, so there's no reason why there should have been kids there, period, especially in that area, because from what the way she described it, there was shelves, like I said, like in the story, there's shelving and stuff like that, because it's like an industrial factory, so uh, yeah, like, it would just have been dangerous for the kids. Not that the kids would really care, I guess they would just be playing around, but still, I think just the fact that there was kids there would have freaked me out enough, and I would have been real hesitant to like go into the factory to begin with, and then, like, I think, like, with him, just the icing on the cake, I like, I honestly, I wouldn't have even gone in, so I'm like that dude's got balls for like just kind of
Yeah,
like sticking through it, you know what I mean, and
yeah.
then to watch just that helmet fly off you know the thing, the rack in front, and like hit you, like, nah, fuck that, I'm out, peace. i would
And
have
it's
i would have
yeah,
bolted too.
yeah. No, he. Yeah, I think both of us would have been out like long before what he went through, or I guess he stayed there the whole time and did what he needed
Yeah,
to do. I yeah, would not have been able to
no,
for
thank
sure.
you.
The I guess my place of employment, we always joke that there's a ghost there, but it's not really a joke. It's kind of serious too, because stuff will go flying off the shelves randomly, and like I don't think I've ever told you this,
No.
and no, yeah, so stuff will just like fall, and like no one walked past it, like no, nothing, it just everyone's in the room and then something falls off the shelf. And I think, well, I thought I was the only one experiencing stuff, because I used to have to work pretty late at night when I was working 2 3 jobs, and I would be there until like 8 9 o'clock at night, and sometimes I'd be the last person there that late. And the way that my workstation was, like, I have my back facing towards like this huge room, and I'm like
Hmm.
facing a wall essentially. And I kept feeling someone like walk into the room and like be right up, like coming right up behind me. So I'd turn around like, oh hey, like, and there's nobody there, and it would freak me out. And you just like feel like someone's watching you, or someone's like hanging out around you. And I finally jokingly brought it up to one of my other coworkers, and she's like, "Oh my god, yeah, I've seen him and I feel him, and like he's knocked stuff off the shelves and I don't know what." And I was like, "Okay, cool, I'm not crazy." And so yeah, we just talk about a bakery ghost now. And yeah, I'm surprised I hadn't told you that yet.
No, I actually had something similar happen at where I work now. Like, I'm also a nurse, but like right now I'm doing private duty, so I work at people's houses. So the house that I was at, they have on the refrigerator, they have like all the cereal boxes like all stacked up, and then they have the maruchan, I guess the ramen noodles is what it is, and the or cup of noodles. Um, they have the cup of noodles, but they have like a ton of them. They have like, they literally have, how in the grocery store they come in like a little
The
box and you pull
boxes,
them out of the
yeah.
box. Yeah, well, they have the whole box.
Oh.
and I think they have like two of them. So like the cereal stacked up on top, and then the cup of noodles are um like stacked one on top of the other next to him, right? And I mean, some of the cup of noodles were missing. Obviously, the cereal boxes were open and stuff like that. And I walked in to the I walked into the kitchen because I was getting something that I needed out of the fridge for my patient, right? And then at the time, nobody was home. I was by myself. It was like really, it was kind of late, but I think they were at a funeral for the mother of the patient's parent. So essentially the patient's grandparent had passed away, and they were they were at the funeral. The parents, my patient was still at home, obviously. So I was there, and I opened the door, right, and like the stuff isn't to where a spot like where if you open the refrigerator the stuff is gonna fall, right? And obviously if it was like if stuff was gonna fall off, it would fall off immediately as you open the refrigerator, right? Because it gets off balance, there's nowhere for it, so it'll fall over, right? And it, maybe like one or two of the cereal boxes will fall over, but no, that didn't happen. Like I turn around, I get what I get needed out of the fridge. I close the door and I start walking away. And all of a sudden, everything just almost like like literally explodes off of the fridge, like just went flying. Like one of the cereal boxes landed almost by like the entrance of the kitchen, like which is where almost where I was, like right behind me. Some of the cup of noodles landed where I was. Some of them landed in front of the fridge. And like if something falls over, like it's gonna fall
Just,
over just
yeah, straight down,
yeah
kind of
straight
like
down, or
thing.
maybe even a few feet in front, depending on
Yeah.
how how hard it fell. But it's not gonna go like over here and then over here and then some
Yeah.
in the sink. And so it was like literally like somebody just pushed everything off of the top of
The
the
top of the
fridge.
fridge.
Yeah. So like I kind of got a feeling it was you know, my patient's grandparent. So like when the mom came home, I was like, hey, this happened. Um, yeah, I kind of feel like this is what it was, you know? And because I had other experiences in that house before. And so like if like that happened, right? And then you chalk it up to like, it's one person, whatever, blah blah blah. You know, it could have been whatever. So then like a few months later, the mom's talking to me again, and the mom tells me that the exact same thing happened to the dad.
Huh.
Yeah, so like literally the exact same thing. Like he opened the fridge, closed the fridge, and everything just flew off of
Top of the
yeah,
fridge.
the top of the fridge. And he was like, oh no, he was trying to explain it away. He was like,
Yeah, of
oh, it was
course.
probably like we're tired, you know, like they hadn't had nurses coming in because of the whole COVID thing.
Yeah.
And I had been the only one coming in at the time, so like they weren't really getting a lot of rest and stuff like that. And they're like, oh, you know what, he was like, it was just that because I think something else had moved in their room too, like a blanket, like there was supposed to be somewhere where like even the kids couldn't reach it, the dog couldn't reach it or anything like
Yeah.
that, but it ended up in like in front of the door on the floor or something like that, like
Ugh.
somebody picked it up and threw it. So they were like, we're just tired, like we might have moved it and we didn't realize. And then the mom was like, no, this happened to Eric too. Like, you
Hmm.
know, she goes, es tu suegra que,
Yeah.
get the, like, that it was his mother-in-law just messing with him and stuff like that. So,
Or I mean, like we were talking about in Keith's episode with the poltergeist activity, like just especially if grandparent or a parent passes away, like I'm
true.
sure there's lots of sadness, lots of energy there that um, is just kind of building up. But yeah, it also could just be the
The mom.
the mother. Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
well, I was gonna say I didn't mean to get into like our own personal experiences, but like because I had another one that had to deal with work that is kind of similar to yours. Um, except it wasn't the top of the fridge. It was so I used to be a nanny also, and the family that I worked for, they had this huge like shelf unit thing where like there was like plastic drawers, and that's where they kept all the kids' toys. And I mean, it was pretty sturdy. Like even to pull one out, like really had to tug. And and there was one day that I was in the bedroom with George, and we were playing with something, I don't know what, and all of a sudden I just hear this like super loud like crash bang, like it sounds like Lego pieces falling all over the floor. And sure enough, I went out, and the drawer that was full of Legos was just like, it was literally as if someone had grabbed it and then just yanked it out and let it all spill all over the floor. And the dad was actually in the kitchen, which is in the same area as like where this like shelf unit thing is. And I freaked out and like ran out, and he was there, and I was like, "Oh, it's like, is everyone okay? Like, what happened?" He's like, yeah, it just this fell over." And I'm like, I literally put that away myself. Like, it was shoved all the way back. Like, I made, so it was just weird. I mean, I'm sure he was trying to explain it away too.
Yeah.
Um, and then this happened 3 times, uh, because I'm trying to remember if it was the same one or if it was like different ones every time. But uh, yeah, it happened to me one time when I was by myself, where one of the drawers, again, like you have to really pull. It's not like they're hanging off like halfway or anything. Like you have to yank it. And yeah, so it happened once with me when we were kind of in the area, so I didn't actually see it happen. And then a third time it happened with the mother. I think she was also in the kitchen, and it happened again. And I finally, like, I told her, I was like, "Yeah, this keeps happening. I'm not sure what's wrong with this drawer, but I don't really think they're believers."
Yeah.
And so of course everyone's just kind of playing it off. But it happened 3 times, and it never happened again, at least while I was there. And yeah, it's just weird. I wonder how much energy it takes for a ghost to just be able to like do something like that, you know?
I'm sure it needs a lot.
Because yeah, I mean those drawers were heavy too,
Yeah.
but I don't know.
So, question.
Yes,
Was this around the time that you were having one of your two attachments?
definitely not the first one. I don't really know how long the second one was going on. Like, I don't think so. I honestly don't think so.
Because I was thinking maybe that, because you know how the first one was kind of like confused and trying to. This one, the second one's has been trying to get more attention than the other one, right? The other one just altered your mood.
Yeah, the other one was more of a, well, I mean, I guess they both kind of did. Yeah, but the first one was like, I did not even feel like myself. Like
Mm-hmm.
that was not me. But even the second one too, like I for sure had thoughts that like weren't mine.
Yours?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he was more like I've never had anything like mess with stuff. It's more like just affects me and like what I feel and like what
Yeah.
I like, or my mood too, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it was that. I don't know.
Yeah. Uh,
Again, I'm no expert.
yeah.
I have no idea.
No, I was just curious because I know you did have this. There was at least the first one for sure was during the time that you were being a nanny. So I didn't know if maybe that was around the same time, and that could have been one of the causes. Because I mean, I also don't know the history of the house and stuff like that. So
I mean, it's an old ass house, but I never really felt anything there. Like I always felt pretty safe. I never had that like being watched kind of feeling, or it was just like those kind of 3 experiences, and that was kind of it. So didn't mean to go on a tangent of like our own personal stories, but it's time for Max's story.
I've
Um,
been waiting for this since Max talked about it. So
yeah, and I will say, she actually wrote this really well. Like it reads almost like you're reading a book or something. So it's a little on the longer side. I'm just gonna read through, and the creepy part happens towards the end. So just giving you that heads up.
I just sat back in my chair.
Okay. The coffee also just kicked in, so I'm a little jittery, and I hope that I can get through this without rambling or stuttering like an idiot. So, you, grab your belongings and follow me, the guard said, pointing at me. I stood up from the bench and made my way to the gate. The guard unlocked the gate with a huge metal key and opened it. I stepped out and stood next to her. While being locked for, While being locked up for 6 months, I learned the first cardinal rule of prison: do not stand behind a guard. Always walk in front of or beside them. I stood beside her and waited for her to lock the gate back up. Come, she said, and motioned for me to start walking. She followed me. We walked into a low ceiling hall, and that held cells on each side. The floor was concrete and the walls were cinder blocks. Everything in there was painted white. The flickering lights above me made me feel like I was walking through a dungeon. I peeked inside the cell doors of each cell. Sometimes there was a person inside, and they'd stand at the door as I passed. They watched me with curious eyes. After I passed by, they shuffled back to their bunk. I looked around the cell as she walked by. It was a two-person cell. There was a top and a bottom bunk screwed into the wall to my left. I looked at the slip of paper that was given to me while I was waiting inside my cage. B17, top, it read. Great, I was on the top bunk. My cell was empty, so why the top bunk? I rolled my eyes. Sigh. To my right, the stainless steel toilet. Well, thank God it wasn't winter. I'd freeze. Right next to the toilet was a metal desk and a counter that served as a chair for the desk. I placed my sack on the counter and sat down. I was so tired from waking up at 4 in the morning and taking a long bus ride to the unit, I hoped this was my last stop. All I wanted was my small belongings inside my sack, and all I had was my small belongings inside the sack and my white uniform I wore. I heard the rattle of the keys approach my cell. The guard stopped at my door and fumbled with the keys. She unlocked my door again and stepped inside to allow the inmate behind her to give me a bedroll and a gown. I grabbed the bedroll from her and placed it on the bottom bunk. I had to stay in my cell, which meant my food would be brought to me. Well, time to unroll the bedroll. It was a blanket and 2 white sheets, a pair of ugly gray socks, and a very small towel. The towel only covered my head while I waited for night to fall. I heard the conversations between other inmates down the hall. Some would scream across to each other. One inmate called out my cell number. "Hey, 17, what are you here for? What'd you do?" I didn't respond. I had heard stories of this place. Back in the early 1900s, it used to be a boys' unit. It was home. This is actually kind of going back to some little backstory of like what she was telling us in her episode. Back in the early 1900s, it used to be a boys' unit. It was home to troubled boys and orphan boys. They told me stories about balls rolling down the halls at night. Others said they could hear little boys talking. Yeah, I believed in that stuff, but I was so tired I didn't really care. I made my bed on the top bunk and rested. I drifted off until the guard came with that same inmate to deliver my tray. She opened the tray door to my cell and inserted the tray. Then she gave me my cup through the space between the bars. "Thanks," I said. They went off to the next cell. I ate and placed my tray back in the tray slot. I came back into my bunk and went into a fitful sleep. Between the other inmates talking to each other and the constant rattling of keys, I came in and out of sleep. Finally, night fell, and we had to get up to present our IDs for the nightly count before we could all sleep. The halls got quiet. I could sleep now. I was so tired I pulled the blanket over me and faced the wall. It must have been the middle of the night when I awoke, but I was awake in my dream. It was like my body was still asleep, but somehow I could see everything around me. Astral projecting, maybe? Right?
Maybe.
I looked up at the ceiling and all I saw was heavy darkness. It was weird because the dim light from the hallway shone inside the cell. However, it was pitch black. I turned over and looked down at the ground. What I saw really scared me. In the middle of the floor was a little girl and a little boy. They were sitting on the ground with their legs folded. They had a piece of chalk in their hands. But the scariest part of it all was a pentagram they had drawn on the ground.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, they were sitting on top of it. They didn't look happy or sad. They looked like they were concentrating on whatever they were doing. I swallowed hard and tried waking up. I couldn't really move. They weren't talking, but I could still feel them there. Finally, I jerked awake and the dim light was shining back into my room. I could see everything in the shadows. The heavy darkness was gone. The kids were gone. The pentagram was gone. I fell back on the bed and took a deep breath. Was it a dream? It didn't feel like it. To this day, I'm not sure what it was. Maybe it was a vision? I don't know. But the image of those kids on the pentagram still haunts me. Little did I know that wouldn't be my last experience.
Jesus.
Ooh, that's a tease.
Imagine That's crazy that the first two stories both had little kids in it, boy and a girl.
Oh yeah, I didn't even process that. Huh. I wonder if that's like a thing. I don't know. That's just me trying to find meaning in everything, but I don't know, like the dynamic of, well, first off, little kids just in general. Like I said, I can't do little kid ghosts. They creep me out. Something
That's
about that.
that's why the cover art for the episodes is two creepy little kids.
Oh, who are those two creepy little kids? Do you know by any chance?
That would be us.
Oh yeah. Just use my
Yeah.
awesome photoshopping skills to make it look creepy. I don't
Oh
have
yeah.
awesome photoshopping skills. Just
I
kidding.
mean, it's pretty legit.
But yeah, I mean, that was. I remember when I was reading that, it just like you already just her description of what prison life is kind of like gets you all in a sad mood, and then you get hit with freaking kids sitting on a chalk pentagram. Like, no, thank
Yeah.
you.
And the thing is, like, it's not like you're in a room where you can just be like, nope, peace out, I'm done, like fuck
Yeah,
this, and walk out. Like you're stuck in that room.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I know that Max was asleep when she had the dream or whatever, and then woke up. But I mean, like, if I wake up from a nightmare and I'm like, you know what, I don't want to be in this room right now, I can just walk out of the room and go to like the living room or go to another room or something like that, or go
mm,
get a drink of water in the kitchen. And you wake up in a jail cell, and it's like, well, you're gonna have to stand on that thing if you want to get off your bed
yeah,
or where
yeah.
it was. You know what I mean? And it's like,
Mm.
fuck, dude. Like, and
I
the
feel
thing
you're
is,
being
like,
trapped. Yeah.
yeah, and the thing is, like, I know Max mentioned about it being and right now in the story about it being a boys' home and stuff like that, and that there was some like dark history there and stuff like that. So it's just very, I don't know. It's I really want to, like, I don't know how I'd be able to go about like trying to figure out or investigate what happened there. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, because I mean, I don't think like a lot of that stuff would be documented anyway. You know what I mean? Like, if it's a boys' home, like, and you're supposed to be taking care of these boys, why the hell would you have there documented that, oh yeah, these boys were beat and stuff like that, So, I mean, not to say that I don't believe what Max is saying. It's just like to kind of like learn about it, learn about the history and stuff. It's
Mm. And
crazy.
I mean, like you can kind of assume, especially if it's like troubled boys kind of thing. I'm sure there's just like a lot of not so great things happening there.
Yeah, a lot of negative energy and stuff.
What do you think you would do in that situation? Like if you, I can't even say woke up and saw that because Max doesn't even know if like she was awake or not. Like just that weird, again, in between dreaming and sleeping state. Like what? How would you react? Like if you finally fully woke up. I know you said like you would leave the room, but would you even be able to go back to sleep? Because I don't think I would.
I don't know. I don't know if I'd be able to go back to sleep immediately. It just depends. Well, okay. So like in the house when I was having those, when I talked about in the other episode about you know, uh, those like really horrible dreams that I had, that I would wake up and I would go back to sleep, but I'm in my house. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have, like, I mean, I do have a choice, right? And like I said, I could have walked out of the room, but at that point, it was just like, hold on.
I'm sorry. Eric's being interrupted by his cat. I don't know if you guys can. I'm sure you guys can hear that. She's being a rat today. So
She,
if you hear
dude,
kitty cats in the background, that's why.
this is literally every day. Like, I think my wife is in the kitchen. Like, so I don't know what she's doing over here, meowing under the door. Like, she literally puts her mouth under the door. Like she's trying, like, it's not just like a meowing at the door. No, like where the
Yeah,
crack between the door and the floor is, she'll
yeah.
put her mouth and she'll start meowing through that crack, like, hey, like, listen to me, I'm here. I'm like, no, dude, like,
Oh my god, that is
and
the
and
most
then,
obnoxious.
you know what I
Oh my
mean?
gosh.
So that's a daily occurrence, and it can be annoying. I mean, I love her, but
Yeah,
especially when we're trying to record.
yeah. It's
Anyway,
it's not usually that bad. Today's just she's being like extra bratty.
extra. She's
Yeah.
being extra, real extra.
Yeah, and I had actually reached out to Max after she sent me this, and I read through it, and I asked if she ever saw those kids again. And she never saw those kids, but obviously had other experiences like the one that she told us in her episode. But I'm pretty sure other things happen. But like we said, I mean, with that abundance of negative energy, just from it being a prison, and then before that a trouble boys home, like, yeah, I'm not surprised at all whatsoever.
All right, guys. So this last one was also sent in by Luz de Carmen. And again, like I mentioned, she's a nurse, and previously she used to work at a hospital. And I personally have never worked in a hospital. I have worked in a nursing home before, and I mean, even in the nursing home, there was a lot of experiences that I had
Oh
there.
my
So
god, those stories. Sorry, I'm just
yeah,
excited to eventually tell those, or
yeah,
for
I was
you to
gonna
tell
say
them.
I don't know if I'll get into. I don't know if I'll get into any of them today. I'm gonna try not to, because I do want to save those for like their own. Because I
Yeah,
like, dude, I think
episode.
we can make. I think honestly, we could probably make a couple of episodes off of the
Yeah,
amount of things that have happened in in that in that nursing home, and
maybe you
I'm
could
sure.
do one if we have enough time after we discuss
Okay,
this last story.
yeah. Um. So okay, you're right. Let me get to the. So again, this is Luz de Carmen, and this did happen to her personally. Um, and this was at one of the hospitals there in Matamoros. So she starts. This story takes place in a hospital that I used to work at. I worked a few shifts at night, working as a nurse. Eric, you know more than anyone that those of us who work in a hospital at night see and hear weird things, and this story is about one of those weird things. One night, when I had to do a shift in the labor and delivery, they didn't have any patients, and in the hospital, when there aren't any patients on the floor, the hospital allows us to take a break for a few hours while we don't have work. I was tired, so I took off my shoes and laid in one of the empty beds, as a nurse would do, of course. I was asleep when all of a sudden I hear the cries of a newborn baby. I shot
Ew.
out of bed. Yeah. I shot out of bed and put my shoes on as fast as I could and ran to the delivery area. I knew that no one could have given birth. I knew that no one could have given birth to a baby without me preparing them and being present. They would have had to call me in to let me know that there was a mother in labor. We know that even though a mother comes in, oh, sorry, we know that even though a mother comes in and her labor is very advanced, there is a preparation that needs to take place. I stood on my tiptoes and looked into the window on the door that leads into the delivery area, and everything was fine. No one was inside the delivery room. So I got scared and I thought, oh, maybe it's a C section. But I thought, even if that's the case, they still would have needed to call me to prepare the patient. And I kept hearing the baby's cries. I couldn't pass through the operating room, so I called out to one of my coworkers through the transfer area. Her name was also Carmen. Uh, the transfer area to the operating room where she usually was and also slept when she was on the shift and given a break. So she comes out and I asked if there's a C-section being performed because I hear a baby crying, and asked her, "Can you hear it?" Still kind of groggy, Carmen asked me, "What are you hearing?" So I told her, "You're hearing a baby," or no, she asked me, "You're hearing a baby?" So I replied, "Yes, in one of the operating rooms." To which she replied, "Oh, that. Yeah, I hear it. But don't worry about it. You hear that all the time. I'm used to it already. It's nothing. Just go
What?
back. Yeah. Just go back to your area."
Yeah, you're just hearing a baby ghost cry. It's fine. It's all normal.
Yeah.
Just keep working. What the? Okay.
Oh no, I'm sorry. It's nothing. Just go back to sleep or do something else. You're always going to hear that. So I went back to my area in shock, and the crying stopped. I couldn't go back to sleep. I couldn't rest. So what I did was ask permission to go to the medical floor because I didn't want to be there by myself in the labor and delivery room anymore.
Yeah, no.
She goes, "To be honest, I was terrified to hear the baby's cries again. This is one of my scary stories from from a hospital."
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
No.
I mean, it makes sense though. Like, how many babies were probably born,
And didn't
stillborn
really
and stuff
make
like
it.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or, yeah, exactly. Were born, didn't make it, or were born stillborn and stuff like that. And you get all that residual energy in there. And It's a scary thing, man. That's one of those things where like again, I know I've had experiences, but I've never heard like cries or something like that. It's just been things that I see. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And for a second, the way that the story was going, like the first thing that popped up, the first thing that popped up into my head was, have you ever heard of exploding head syndrome?
No.
No, so it's like when people are, I don't know, super stressed or it's like hormones or whatever, and they're falling asleep. It's kind of like this in between again of awaken to sleep, and then they hear, or maybe they're fully asleep. I can't remember. They hear like a loud bang or like a door closing or like a gunshot and like screams. Like people have actually heard like
Hmm.
yeah, or bells ringing. And it's just in your head. Like it's not actually happening, but it's like
Mm.
scientifically, you know, proven like it's a thing. It's not like a paranormal thing.
Right.
Um, so at first I was going to be like, oh, okay, maybe it was something like that. Although a baby crying isn't necessarily screaming. But then once the other nurse is like, oh yeah, like it happens all the time. It's whatever. It's like, wait,
Yeah.
okay, I don't think it's exploding head syndrome. And that's not normal. And I could not
Yeah.
go back to sleep.
Yeah. But I mean, I guess again, it goes back to like, well, if you're used to it and you experience it all the time, it's just like, well, okay, well, this is something that's going to happen. And I just kind of like, fucking get used to it or, you know,
It's on a different level. Like I probably would have asked for a transfer too, because I don't think that I would have been able to deal with like a baby crying, like hearing that, but also on top of that, it's a ghost baby. Like it's just heartbreaking too. Like you want to like yeah, you just want to like help the baby or like soothe the baby, and you can't, and especially even more so if it's like a ghost baby, and it just can kind of get in your brain and just drive you nuts. But yeah, that's insane.
yeah. Um, I don't think I ever heard anything like that. Like I said, I've never heard like disembodied voices or anything like that. Usually, like it's just things that we've seen there at the nursing home. I don't know if any of the other nurses or any of the certified nursing assistants, the CNAs, I don't know if maybe they've heard voices or anything like that. But I mean, the only thing that like I've seen things, and I heard it. I heard like one thing, but it was more an object, moving, and I've been touched or had my scrub pulled, but that was it. Like nothing like, I don't know. I think I'd rather have all that stuff happen to me than hear a person or see or hear a baby crying or something like that. You know what I mean?
I don't know. Yeah, you say that you would rather see stuff, right? Like I've told you multiple times. Like you do see stuff. You see things more than I do. And that like I think you're more clairvoyant, which means like you see things. Um, and I feel like I'm more clairaudient and clairaudient, which means like you hear stuff, and clairsentient, like meaning that you feel things. Um,
Like emotion things or feel things like touching things.
like you feel another's like physical pain, and that's not saying that you're not clairsentient, because I know that you are, and maybe I should just kind of talk about all the clairs a little bit to kind
Because
of.
I hate people off the rip, and I'm usually right about them.
You hate
Or what do
everybody
you
though.
think? No,
You
not
hate
everybody.
okay, no, I know. um yeah, so again, if you believe in psychic abilities and whatnot, um there's, again, depending on what you believe, 4 to 5. There's clairvoyance, like I said, which is clear seeing. There's clairaudience, which is clear hearing. Clairsentient means clear feeling. Clair this is one that I don't want to say is new for me, but um I guess I don't really hear. Well, that's a lie. Yeah, I guess I don't really hear as much. These next two, uh, clairalience, means clear smelling, which I've actually had some people where, well, it's like if you walk into a room and like all of a sudden, or maybe not walk into a room, but like you smell like roses and you're
Oh,
like, oh,
like Keith
grandma's perfume or whatever.
did. I think did Keith mention that I
Oh yeah,
want sometimes
cigarette
like
smoke.
the cigarette smoke? Yeah.
Yeah, things like that. That would be, yeah, clear aliens. Claire gustance is clear tasting.
Hmm.
Yeah, that, I guess that one is more like I hadn't really ever heard of. but it makes sense. It's obviously you have the ability to taste something that isn't actually there. Um, and then cognizance is clear knowing, which it's just one of those things. It's like a download, and it just like comes to you, and like you just know. And I think like everybody has certain psychic abilities just in general. It's kind of whether you want to work on them or not, but some come easier than others. Like I said, like for you, brother, you see things a hell of a lot more often than I do. So I think you're more clairvoyant than anything. Not to say that you don't have any of those other skills, but like on a scale of 1 to 10, it's more of a, I don't know, 7 versus everything else is like a, I don't know, 2, 3 kind of thing. Or
Yeah.
I'm just throwing numbers out there. But um
Or
whereas
are you?
I don't know, maybe it's clear cognizance and I know. Um but yeah, whereas for me, I feel like I'm more of a clairsentient, which I just feel things a little bit more
Mm-hmm.
than normal.
Yeah. I think that would also kind of suck because, like, I mean, it would be good, like, if I was. The reason I'm saying that is because of the places that I've worked at. Like, a lot of people I know have suffered and stuff. So, like,
Yeah,
I don't know if I
probably
would
good.
want to feel all that stuff.
Yeah.
But, yeah, like, I mean, again, like I said, I'm glad I only saw and kind of felt things rather than actually hearing, like, disembodied voices and stuff like that, you know?
That's the one that I'm scared of, just because I feel like I would think that I'm insane.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I would 100% rather hear things than see things. I think if I can like
Really?
seeing it in my mind's eye, I don't mind. But well, I don't know, maybe because the things that I have seen have freaked me out, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Well, I'm not gonna lie. I think I'd rather see it in my mind's eye as well. But luckily, some of the things that I have seen aren't. They're just people, that
yeah,
can't like. Most of the time, it's like um, dark figures. As far as like, it's people. Like I can tell it's a person,
it's
but they're
just
just
yeah.
dark,
Well,
like
yeah. I mean,
black. You
yeah.
know,
Well,
not
it's
that
like
it's evil.
yeah. And that's what I don't even remember what episode, because
I
we
think it
have
was
so
with.
many episodes.
Yeah, I think it was with Keith. I think it
No,
was.
it was an episode before where I think it actually might have been the Halloween special. I don't know, but basically, what I had said was when we see shadow people or shadow figures, it's not necessarily that they're bad or evil. It could just be that they don't have enough energy, or they don't know how to come through like as like yeah manifest completely, or we don't like haven't leveled up our psychic abilities to be able to see
Yeah,
them clearly either. So I
yeah.
mean but that's good though, that like you're seeing them and you're not like freaking out because they're not giving off that like okay well
You didn't see, but I made a face. Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I'm freaking out not because it feels evil, just because you
what
see
shouldn't be
something that's
there.
not supposed to
Yeah,
be there. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah. And I think that's maybe I just need to see something and then be like, oh okay, that's what it's like. It's really
Yeah.
not that bad. I think yeah, it's just a scared of the unknown, haven't really experienced it often enough to like not be freaked out by it.
Yeah, because I think as I've seen more things, like because when I was at the nursing home, like anytime I would see something like it or experience something, it really kind of like freaked me out.
Mm-hmm.
But the more that I've seen, and the thing is, the more that I talk to you about it and stuff like that, and we've talked about things like this, um, it's made me feel a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I feel like we got like way off topic here from the listener stories, but it kind of I guess pushed us in that direction. Yeah, I mean, it's. I think it's crazy too how the first two had two children. Well, I mean, they all really had children in them,
They did, yeah.
and I don't think like when I chose those two to start with, because she sent in like 4 or 5, and I just like, oh, let's start with these two. But it hadn't really clicked in my head that they had children in it, and then I didn't tell you about them, so you didn't know that they had children, and then you told me that Max's ended up having children in it too. So it's just funny.
Synchronicities.
Yeah, it's funny how things
Synchronicities.
work, man.
I have a feeling
But
we're
yeah,
gonna have a lot more of those while we're
yeah,
doing this.
I'm I want to get. She did send in another hospital story, and I haven't listened. did I listen to that? I don't think I listened to that one. No, I didn't listen to that one. But I'm really interested in listening because I don't know. Like I said, since I've experienced things in nursing homes and stuff like that, I'm always interested to hear other nurses' experiences and their workplaces and stuff like that.
Yeah, it'd be super awesome to be able to get a whole bunch of um, not necessarily hospital stories, but I guess medical field. People working in
Yeah.
because I'm sure they see so much shit.
Mm-hmm.
Even outside of your stories, brother, I've heard some crazy ones. So if you are in the medical field, please send in your story.
And even if you're not in the medical field, please send in your story.
Okay, that's true too.
No, but like honestly, guys, we really enjoy hearing your guys' stories because I mean, don't get us wrong, we love talking about our stories too, obviously, but
Whoops.
we also like to hear your guys' stories, whether it be an interview or whether you guys write them in, uh, which you can do by sending us an email or sending us messages on our social media.
Our Instagram is at We Believed You Podcast. Twitter is at WBDY Podcast. Facebook is We Believed You ? And our email is, guess what? We Believed You at gmail.com. If you have any stories or would like to be interviewed, shoot us a DM, an email, whatever it is, and we'll get back to you.
Yeah, guys, we tried to make it really easy for you to be able to find us and send us messages. So go ahead and do that. Like, follow, and share all our posts, our stories to get the word out there on us because we really want to hear more people's stories. We want to get more stories written in. And don't let it deter you that it's in Spanish. Send them in. We can translate them. And again, if you don't want to be, if you want to be anonymous, you don't want to be. I guess we could even do interviews anonymously, right? We just
Yeah.
won't mention them in the beginning. So even if you want to get interviewed and you don't want your name mentioned, let us know. I mean, I don't think we can alter your voice, but you can definitely not mention your name, and you can go ahead and give, tell your story anyway. So send them in, guys. We really want to hear them because we believe.
Do you?